A smart man learns from his own mistake, whereas a wise man learns from others' mistakes. So whatever mistake which has happened in history, we are going to avoid it and ensure that we are reaching victory. And the stories of valor. What is a valor?
Brave. Is it brave?
Bravery. Very good. Yeah,
Yes.
bravery. Yeah, bravery makes us courageous, makes us stand up for our own rights. Okay. And it helps us to understand our present better. And we will understand we are standing on the shoulders of others, and we'll start respecting people, and we will not take things for granted. Unfortunately, today's children take things for granted. It is in our hands to make them understand, yes, we have to respect other people. And why study history? So that you will be proud about yourself as well as your community, society, and be a good citizen. And how old is history? Anybody? From which, when will you say it, the history starts?
From one day.
When the universe started.
When the universe started, okay? As Sir said, the previous day. Yesterday, even yesterday is a history. And tomorrow is the future, yes. And where did your father and mother spend their childhood? How did they spend their childhood? Or what were the types of transportation? All this is history. Yes, all this is history. So how much older is your grandfather to you? And how much older is your father to you? And so in 100 years, how many generations would have lived? Anybody?
Maximum 4.
3 generations. At least 3 generations. Before 30 years, the next generation is born.
Minimum 3 generations.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Minimum 3 generations.
I'm not able to hear you properly. Sorry.
I
They
think
told
minimum 3
3
generations.
Minimum 3 generations. Excellent. Yeah. So if it is 10,000 years, then 300 generations would have passed by. Yes. So what are the changes which has happened in 3 generations is a history. Now, if you ask them to collect things like this, then they will start getting interested in history. Okay. Now, especially in 6th, 7th, 8th, we have the luxury of time. Unfortunately, 9th and 10th standard, we have to complete the portion. We have to make them learn. We have to stick on to that. Whatever is necessary has to be done. Whereas here we have the luxury of time. So give them a little extra activity, which they love to do it, as well as they will, keep them hooked to the subject. Okay. Now, in 300 generations, what do you think would have been the changes? If you ask them, they would create stories. And this is very, very important. The perspective, for that matter, when we're talking about any view, okay, when you're looking at anything, the perspective is entirely different. We cannot have the same perspective. Now, I'll show you this PPT. Can you see that? Now, this man is looking from one angle and he's saying this is 6, whereas the other man is looking from this side and he's saying this is 9. Same way, when you look at one incident, the man who has started a demonstration or let us say protest might have had a very strong opinion about something, and he would have had this started the demonstration. So his perspective would have been different. So according to him, what he did was correct. Whereas if you look at the government point of view, it would have been different. They would have felt that, no, this is not right. You are standing up against the government. So the perspectives differ. Now, at this point, we are trying to teach the children the value of perspective. Now, the same incident might have different views, and how it is affecting the society as a whole, based on that, we are going to judge a person. So if you are going to tell that, for example, you can say that Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Let us take that as an example. Now, if you ask General Dyer, he would have said that, see, I want to instill the fear of not getting together, because martial law was existing at that time. Not more than 4 people are supposed to assemble in a particular place. But so many people came together and they were standing up against it. So I want to bring in or instill the fear among the Indians So what I did is, according to me, is right. So when we are telling those different perspectives to children, we will tell them, see, though he might have a different perspective, but look at the whole bigger picture, what has he done to the society? And then analyze it. If you are teaching that, then naturally they will become a better citizen in the future. So through history, we are trying to teach them a lot of values. Okay. So perspective is one, and history teaches courage. As we know that there are so many greater kings, and those kings were trying to stand up against their enemies. And in today's society, there are not much of enemies. You needn't every time take up a war. But if you see anybody being exploited or discriminated, or people who cannot stand up for themselves, you have to stand up for them. That courage you should have. So through that, we are trying to teach the courage, and also the things that change kings are. Now, from anybody is not going to be staying in that same position. Changes are going to happen, which is supposed to be the greatest empire might have crumbled within 2 generations to pass by. So that can also happen. So remember, all these are the values through which, or values we can teach through history. So if we are trying to go into this time and again and trying to relate it to their real life, then history will become more interesting. Okay, now when we are talking about history of 6th, 7th, and 8th, I think I have already dealt with it, but still there are a few new teachers for their convenience. I'm again dealing with it. In 6th standard, it's they are teaching only ancient history, and in 7th standard they are teaching medieval, and in the 8th standard it's modern history. Okay, now yeah, medieval history is the 1,000 years from 8th to 18th century. After 18th century is modern. Before 8th century is ancient. Okay, that's how we have divided. Now they are trying to cover so as much as possible in the 6, 7, 8 to give them a glimpse. But unfortunately, you as Sabine ma'am, did you go through that video which I have sent?
Some part, ma'am. Starting some part I went through, and with that I heard about Shashi Tharoor's video also, and another one DX talks. In that one of the person not from India, but he's speaking about India. Ah, yes, ma'am. In that also I went through.
Okay, so sorry, I stopped sharing. So when you go through it, a lot of it is missing in our CBSE standards. Also, I'm requesting each one of you to go an extra step to learn about Indian history, and wherever possible, as I said, in 6, 7, 8, you can give lots more rather than what is only.
We can say to the students also in the class.
Yes,
what we are written in the history book, many things it is not the real Indian history. It is for even this periodization also. It is not the. I used to say to students, this caste system that we are saying, that is not the real reason only because of Veda. That we want to say about that Tejomaya, that what we can say the power of the person according to that. So it is taking a little bit time-consuming activity, but we can sow that seeds. What is the real history? They will start to search what is it. And
so
what we are saying, one more point, ma'am. When we are speaking about the this caste system or our Vedas and all, we want to say about that 16 steps of Hindu life and all. Like that, Christianity or Muslims, they are getting the education in their church or mosque and all. But to Hindu students, they are not getting chance to learn about Veda or the samskaras of the life and all. So that spiritual matter, what is, when we are dealing with some of the lessons, if we are giving the guidance to the students, they will start to search. Even when they are not writing name of the textbook or notebook, their own name. I used to say like that. Namakarna ceremony not happened. Like that way. So now they are aware. They are asking the next step what it is, ma'am. Next step what it is. So history teachers, it is our duty. I'm not boasting anyone, just a request. It is our duty to convey that one, India's tradition or our country's worth. We are having many things in future. Future we can come up Maybe it may take 200 years, 300 years. That's not the matter. We are just sowing the seeds. Finding
Yes,
out a
ma'am.
community
Ma'am,
who
you are
is
Salute you, ma'am.
appreciating.
Yes,
Salute you. That's
Sabine,
what
ma'am.
I was.
Yes, division, actually the caste system, it's not at all correct one which is given in the book.
Prevalent.
The division of labor only it is. Just
Yeah.
start when we refer to the book,
when
we
you
can get proof from there. But through that, we can explain to children very well, ma'am. The caste system which is given in our book, very well we can explain with our own sources. It is available.
Because we have started the topic, I will add on to it. Because what happened, as if anybody can go through it, as ma'am was saying, Raj Vedam, sir was saying, how caste system was introduced into India through various people. Okay,
Yeah.
there is a beautiful article or a video which is in net. I will send you the link. You go through it, and how basically it was based on your skills and occupation, how you are respected, how you are
division
not
of labor.
crucified.
Yes.
It is
Yeah.
it was, they were not basically discriminated.
Yes,
Okay?
no,
That
no,
was
no,
not
no.
happening in
No.
India. How discrimination?
You are doing
how
one
discrimination
labor and you have
came into
professional mastered in that, and you have started other type of followers, and you have clustered in one group. Like now, the doctors are in one group, engineers are in one group. These two don't go together. Why? Is it a caste? Doctor is a caste or engineering is a caste? It's not like that, no. Because their profession is the same. They are going with one another.
Yeah, and also this was introduced when you have to look into that. Then you will understand it was only during the British invasion time. All these caste system was recorded. Before that, there was no what to say caste system. It was only varnas based on the occupation. Yeah,
more
based
than
on your
that,
skill,
ma'am,
based on your
that,
ability.
For this,
basic
very
ability.
well we can refer Daivathin Kural by Mahaperiyava. It is very beautifully it is given. It was before long time before how it was. It was beautiful.
But when we explained Vedas in front of the people, we made changes. We ourselves are responsible for that. We are saying like that Brahmins or the educated people of olden days, why we are not taking that pain to make changes in our society today? So we are only the responsible person.
That is what I'm so worried about it. So,
no, ma'am. Vivekananda said no already. You all take Vedas, all can learn like that. No. But who is hearing to that?
We are not ready to read Vedas. We are just coming with some of the interpretations. Even we are not reading our Puranas and epics. We are not spending time to understand even about medicine, about operation, about math, about our universe. Everything is there in Vedas or before that itself here in India. We are not ready to take pain to understand that one and deliver in front of our students. It may challenge our caste system, what we are having today, or we may challenge our society, but we should be there to...
Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
And one more.
Yeah, we should take pains to change the next generation. Yes, ma'am.
And one more.
Yes, ma'am.
In our history from 6 to 8, there is no more explain about Indian rulers and then Tamil Nadu kings, South Indian kings, and then
very good. I Sangeeta ma'am, excellent.
Sangeeta ma'am, architecture
on that also. We will come to that.
Art and architecture, it is a famous in
but it is not an architecture, not an.
Yes, ma'am.
Rulers and builders in that.
Not an architecture. How we should all that. I'm coming to that. So all of you have felt this. All of you have felt the same pain which I have felt. So we will come to that now.
We
will slowly go into that. I'll accept what you're saying.
In French Revolution, Russian Revolution, they describe about all the things, but about our Indian history, it is very less.
No, ma'am.
Ma'am, so in that also are having some
French
Revolution. They are not saying about
so many things are excluded, ma'am, because it's a vast thing. They have given the outline. That's okay. I'm not worried about French or Russian Revolution, but
not
I'm saying
Indian history. When we are saying like that, we are saying like that South Indian history is neglected. Okay, this is written for all India, so that is way. That way we want to understand. That is our duty when we are teaching. I'm not from Tamil Nadu, that you people know already. So it is my duty to learn Tamil Nadu kings and teaching them according to the need of the lesson. It may be in 10th standard also, we can take the quotations from them and we can teach. So they unknowingly.
Yes, ma'am. I'll accept it. Now, children have asked that same questions. Children have asked the same questions to me also, and how I have replied is, see, unfortunately, we cannot depict everything because it's such a vast history. And I will tell you stories, and I used to tell them stories like this. Any one of you can read this? Riju ma'am, can you read? Because I haven't heard your voice at all.
Velu Nachiyar was the princess of Ramanathapuram.
I think this is Uma ma'am. Yes, ma'am? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. That is Uma ma'am.
Ma'am. Riju is sir, ma'am. Riju sir.
Oh, you're sorry. Riju sir. Riju sir, can you read?
I check.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you able to see the screen, sir?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Velu Nachiyar. Velu Nachiyar was the princess of Ramanathapuram and the only child of the king Chellamuthu Vijayaraghunatha Sedupati, and his queen was Skandamuttattal. Okay, so there was a king called as Vijayaraghunatha Sedupati and the queen was Skandamuttattal, and they were ruling Ramnad, today's Pudukkottai district. Okay, so Nachiyar was trained in all the martial arts, which included Valari, Silambam, horse riding, archery. She was a brave girl. Okay, and those days you have to understand whether it's a boy or a girl, no difference. Okay, this happened in the year 1780s. You have to understand, before 1780s. When she was born, the year is not mentioned. Okay, so it has to be before 1780, because in 1780 she got her husband. She was married and her husband was dead. Okay, so before that this all happened. So she was married to, and she was also not only physically trained, but also she was trained in the language of French, English, and Urdu. Basically, she's a Tamilian, so she's very good in Tamil. Other than that, French, English, and Urdu was also taught to her. And she was married to the king of Sivagangai, who is none other than Muthu Vaduganatha Periya Udayathevar. Periya Udayathevar. You would have heard about Periya Udayathevar, which is in Yavanarani. How many of you know Yavanarani? I don't know. So, he is being mentioned there also. So, Periya Udayathevar was the husband of this Velu Nachiyar. And like the Britishers tried to attack him, and he was dead when he was fighting against the Britishers. That is, at that time, it was only East India Company. So, he was dead. And immediately, she wanted to go for a war against the Britishers, but all her generals told, now all our soldiers are weak, so we have to go out, amass army, later come and fight. Please don't fight now, then you will also lose and we will not have our queen and the king. So please leave. So Velu Nachiyar went out of Sivagangai as a fugitive and sought the help of Hyder Ali. Now Hyder Ali immediately didn't want to help. Okay, he said, no, I don't know you. Why should I help you? We all know that Hyder Ali was supporting French. So anybody, especially he was against Britishers, anybody against Britishers he was supporting. But still, he was little hesitant to support Velu Nachiyar because she was a woman and it was such a small country. Okay, so after that, after a lot of hesitation, he gave 5,000 soldiers and gunpowder. Now, all these gunpowder were imported from France, okay, for his own purpose, Hyder Ali. So he gave that to him. And with that, she trained her soldiers. And then, along with the rich merchants, that's a lot of story how she how she made a commoner become an army man, and then she fought. So with the help of Tipu Sultan, by that time Hyder Ali was not there, so Tipu Sultan Marudu brothers and Tandavarayam Pillai. She fought the Britishers and defeated them, and she became the queen of her same Sivagangai district. And she was ruling for 10 years. After 10 years, she gave the queenship to her daughter Velachi, and she told the Marudu should be god brothers. Okay, the people godparents for her daughter to ensure that the Britishers are not attacking her. This happened in the year 1780s. Okay, so this is how we have to take stories and tell them, yes, even Tamil Nadu, there are lots of stories, but unfortunately it is not coming up in the
textbook.
Readers. Yeah, readers. Okay. So that is one of the method, that story method. There are three kinds of story method. I'll come back to that later. Now, timeline. Now, one of the best method to teach history is timeline. What's timeline?
Giving importance
events, place,
year and events.
Periodized.
Yeah, periodizing. Time. Yeah, time on one side, gradually going from one to another. Okay, from one year to another. Chronicle, keeping a chronicle of it, and the events which is happening on the left hand side. If you are able to do it, then the children won't forget. Okay. Now, which lesson do you think will be the most apt lesson to do this?
Sultans, Mughals.
Mughal emperors.
Yes, Sangeet,
and then nationalism.
Delhi Sultanates, that lesson also. Mughal Emperor lesson also.
Emperors,
national movement.
Making of national movement in India.
National movement in India, class 8.
Sixth standard we can make that Gupta Maurya period. That time also we can use this timeline.
Yes.
Stone Age.
Okay, Indian National Congress was founded in the year December 1885. Swadeshi and Boycott Resolution 1905. Before 1905, why was Swadeshi movement started?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Because of Hindu-Muslim separation in Bengal region.
Compare an incident, no, ma'am.
West Bengal.
Partition of Bengal. Partition of Bengal.
Partition of Bengal. Now, when I'm teaching children, I'll say, see, India was such a united country before, and even now we are united. Only reason we fight, or we started to fight among ourselves, the Hindus and Muslims, was the reason is that Lord Curzon, he cursed us with that. So, like that, if you try to give them something to remember, Lakshmi ma'am, who asked me how to teach history?
Yes, ma'am, myself only.
So if you tell them, if you try to give an anecdote to that, so I tell them, who made India a intolerable place? Then they'll say, Lord Curzon cursed us with that. So they will never forget it. Try to create something new at that moment. Okay, something like that. Okay, I do that. And Muslim League was formed in 1906. Now, when we're talking about Muslim League, I'll tell them, not all the Muslims wanted the Muslim League. Only the people who wanted. Who created Muslim League? Yes, ma'am.
Still, it is some sound disturbance, ma'am.
Somebody's voice is, I can hear it. So everybody please mute yourself. Yeah, Muslim League. Who founded Muslim League? What was the reason Muslim League was founded?
Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Muhammad Ali Jinnah.
Okay, what was the reason?
To unite the Muslims.
To unite the Muslims and Hindu.
What's the national?
No, man.
Separate Muslim majority state.
No,
from
actually,
British, ma'am. From British, they want to show the unity.
No, it was not the reason. Muslim League was started by the, what to say?
Salimullah.
Dhaka, the people who are living in Dhaka. Okay, basically the nobles or the rich people. The rich people or the one second, Amrita. The rich or the the rich or the nobles, okay, of the Muslim community who had power. Who was ruling before the Britishers came in India?
Mughals, major
Mughals.
part of India,
So,
and other some kingdoms.
most of the Muslims had power. Okay, so especially the Bangladesh area, they had absolute power. Whatever they thought, they were ruling. Okay, now when Britishers slowly came in and they started to understand that if there is going to be a representative elected, then they will not get a chance to become a ruler. So they started this Muslim League and they sat with the Britishers and they brought in this reservation. The curse of reservation was brought in by the Britishers to satisfy the Muslims. That's how the reservations came into existence. So if you are going to try and give that as an example, and which the children, they know, they don't actually, children are born so pure, they are on the way only, they are polluted. Okay, I 100% believe in that. So if you tell that as an example, they will never forget 1906 Muslim League was founded. Why? After this separation, they use as an opportunity to get a reservation for themselves in the legislative assemblies. Okay. Now, after this, very important incident happened is there were a lot of small satyagrahas which was happening throughout. And in 1915, Gandhiji came back. In 1917, Champaran Satyagraha, then Kheda, then Ahmedabad. Then when we're talking about Rowlatt, yesterday we spoke about Rowlatt Act. Okay, so Rowlatt Act, and then against it Rowlatt Satyagraha. Then came our, what was the incident happened after that? Jallianwala Bagh massacre. And in 1919, the World War came to an end. At that time, you have to explain to them the Turkey, how the Ottoman Empire lost and the Turkey was taken away by the Britishers, and how the Muslims were not allowed to enter into their holy places, and Khilafat agitation was started throughout the world. And in support of it, our Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Shaukat Ali supported it. And to support it and get the Muslim support, our non-cooperation movement was started. And between 1920 and 1930, there are 6 incidents which are happening in our book, according to that. Do anyone remember what are the 6 incidents?
Chauri Chaura, 1922.
Yeah, very good. That's the first incident. Chauri Chaura, and Gandhiji took back the non-cooperation movement. Excellent, Sangeeta ma'am. Then
Simon Commission.
Simon Commission.
That is 1928. Before that.
Khilafat movement.
Formation of Swaraj Party.
No. Very good. Before that, is it Swaraj Party?
Blue Revolution.
Swaraj Party is 1924.
1923.
Now, 1924. Yeah, 1924. Yes. Actually, after this, Gandhiji said India is not ready for a satyagraha without violence. So what he said that we are not going to enter into the election. So Motilal Nehru and Chittaranjan Das were very unhappy about it. Okay, and they started a party and they entered into the election, and they understood without the help of the mass Congress, they cannot win anything. So they went back to Congress. So if you tell that as an incident, they will never forget. So 1922, 1924, they didn't have the election. Then other two more parties were formed in India. What are the other 2 parties?
One Communist Party of India, 1925.
Communist Party, very good.
Yeah.
And which is ruling now? Along with BJP.
BJP in all the names.
RSS.
Another, they was calling in another name up to 1984. RSS. That name only not coming.
No, RSS, man. No, RSS is still existing as RSS only. What
no,
is
no,
RSS?
No, another one. It is from Bengal side. That party started.
Ma'am, for that matter, there are so many parties started. Now, what I am telling is how to make the children learn this. Okay, so there are two parties, according to our reader, there are two parties which were existing or started at that time. One is Communist Party, second is RSS. RSS is Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh. Okay, so you can say that 1922 Gandhiji took back and he said, you are not going to participate in election. Immediately, Chittaranjan Das and Motilal Nehru started Swaraj Party and they were unhappy about it. Then they came back. Immediately, other people started the party. What is the party? RSS and Communist Party. Then comes our 1928. Yes, ma'am. 1928.
Simon
Commission.
Simon Commission. Now immediately you'll say the Britishers understood they have to do something. They have to decide the the type of constitution which is going to rule this country. We have to give Indians something so that they will not fight against us. So they set up a commission to pacify Indians. That commission is nothing but the Simon Commission. But Indians were unhappy about it. Why? There was no Indians in that. So they said, Simon, go back. Immediately, Jawaharlal Nehru thought something has to be done. People are now boiling. There is a sense of unity we should utilize. So he started in the year 1929.
Purna Swaraj.
Excellent. Purna Swaraj. Yes. So Purna Swaraj was started by Jawaharlal Nehru. But unfortunately, the response was very poor. Then he understood, unless and until Gandhiji start a movement, people from all walks of life will not support. So Gandhiji started in 1930 the Salt Satyagraha. So if you tell a story like this, they will not forget. So easy to remember. Why? What happened? So what happened? So then what happened? What led to this? What led to that? Then they will never forget. Am I making it simpler?
Yes,
this is how I teach my children.
I want to add one more thing, ma'am, with this. When we are like this,
so that is between 90. Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Ma'am, if you are starting the journal writing from 6th standard, maybe one sentence or two sentences, and asking them to read once in a while, go back and read that one, what happened in June, what all things you written, July, like that once in a while we are asking them to read it back. It is easy task to make this timeline and making them to be interested in this.
That's the inquiry method. Yes, ma'am. That's the inquiry method. I'm coming to next. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Again, breaking your voice is breaking, ma'am.
So yes. I am coming back because I'm sharing and talking. It will not accept. Oh, I'll come back here and talk. So that is experiential learning method and inquiry method, ma'am. I'm touching on that also. So timeline, you're clear?
Yes,
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Now, experiential learning is another one where they have to go to that particular place and experience it, or do something and experience it. So generally for history, visiting the local temple and collect information about it, especially when it comes to art, one lesson in 7th standard. What is that lesson? Since we have dropped that lesson, rulers and buildings.
5th lesson.
Rulers and buildings. Such lesson, you ask them to go to the local temple, collect information. When was it built? Who built it? Who renovated it? When it was done? Ask them to collect information and then come back. And if you teach them, you give them as assignment first, and then you teach them, they'll be interested, because unless we are asked to look into such a direction, children won't even know that they are supposed to collect information like this. Okay, when it was started, who built it, who renovated it, who added this another sanctum to that, or any if in your, according to your places. Okay, if it is Madurai, you can ask them to visit Iron Kal Mandapam or Meenakshi Amman temple or anything. Based on your locality, you decide what place they can visit. One lesson, please take this, and children will love it, especially when they are hands-on experience and they have collected the information, they have become a detective. They will never ever forget it, and that will be interesting for them. And art integration, there are hundreds of methods of integrating art. Or you can, for this lesson, there are so many songs which is existing in Tamil, okay? Because most of us are Tamil, I'm saying in Tamil, there are
Here
so
we
many
are missing
songs.
our Meenakshi ma.
Yes, she would have. Even puppet show, man. I was thinking about her when I was writing puppet.
We can call one day and ask her to show like that things what she used last year. And
Sabine ma'am.
Yes.
My informer.
When I was writing that also, I was thinking about her only. So Bharatiya sounds, or about the various paintings which are existing. Even in temples, there are so many paintings. Okay. Now, story method, one story method I told. Second method is how I told this even in timeline, how to connect the events so that they will not forget as a story. Or even story method can be used for teaching one word. Now, for example, in history, Thana, okay, now we would have learned this desire and Thana. This is the teaching of Buddha. Yes, ma'am? Am I clear? Am I audible? Suddenly everybody is quiet.
Yes, ma'am.
So now when I teach them Tana, I used to tell them stories. Okay. So I used to tell them this story. So yesterday, what happened? I went out or 10 days before there was this heavy rain. So I want to go home. So I went to the bus stop and I was having a umbrella and waiting. I was thinking, God, please help me. Please send the bus immediately. Then I won't ask you anything. Thank you for the day. I prayed. And God immediately heard me and sent me a bus. I climbed on it and it was so crowded. I have to literally hang on the steps. And I was standing on the steps. I said, God, please help me. Ask a few of them to get down so that I will get inside the bus. Then I was not happy with that. When God blessed me with it, a few of them got down. I went into the bus, but still I was not happy with it. And I said, God, I'm so tired of the day. I want a small place, a small place to sit. At least with a third person, if I'm allowed to sit, I'll be the happiest. So I was, luckily there was a woman and a child, and that woman said, it's all right, you also sit, ma'am. So I sat and I thought, oh my, I was happy immediately, but I was not completely happy. After 5 minutes, I felt, oh my God, if I could get one seat, full seat, I'll be happiest. Then I got a seat. Again, after 5 minutes, I was not happy. So Thana, or the thirst, is we are not happy with what we have. We want more and more. That's Thana. So you can explain a word through a story. You can explain incidents through a story, or you can go out of the portion through a story. Like our Velunachiyar, or like our the timeline incident. Clear, ma'am? Is it clear? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Such things will make your class more interesting, and children will be really happy to be in your class, and they will not forget what you are saying. Unfortunately, sometimes what happens is they will remember Velu Nachiyar and they will forget about Hyder Ali, who is
what they want to write, remember for exam.
Write in the exam. Yes, I understand. That happens. But in 6, 7, 8, if they are able to understand the question and answer it properly, then we have to consider it. 9th and 10th, okay, they have to follow what's in the reader. But I will say we have to consider that also. Okay. Okay. Now coming to enquiry method. So here we ask them to do, for example, we will, when we are conducting an inquiry, what's the difference between inquiry and general discussion, general or what to say, find out and come and tell us? Who does an inquiry first? Hello? Who does an inquiry? Who does an inquiry?
Yes, really the person who are having many questions and not getting the proper evidence and all like that people.
Okay. Other than that, in general use,
if we have doubt on,
police.
we have doubt on anyone.
The CBI, police, the people who are detecting or inquiring. Now, what is difference between finding out and inquiring? You have to tell children all that. You have to tell them. Inquiry is you have to give a proof that why you are saying this person is wrong. Okay? Or this is the right answer. If you're saying that, you should give me a proof. You should substantially, without doubt, make me understand what you're saying is correct. So that's what is inquiry is about. To inquire. Now, unfortunately, our children don't have this habit of sitting and researching, searching. Research is nothing but searching again and again until you get a solid proof. Beyond that, you cannot go anything like that. So they don't have this habit. We have to give them that habit. How? Go find out about this person. Or you give a question. Like I gave this question to them. 1 second. Are you able to see? India started to go downhill after British arrived in India. How many of you accept to this statement?
Accepting, ma'am.
Okay. You have to give me a proof for that. Okay. Same way, I feel as Sabine ma'am said, 100%. That is the reason. That's my opinion. Okay. So it doesn't mean that there are children who come and argue with me. They collect evidences and come and tell, and I have to sit and again research and give counter proof them. No, that's wrong. So inquiry method leads to a debate. Now debate also they have to inquire, find out who is what to say, why they are supporting a point, and if somebody is giving a proof, they have to go back and tell them, no, this is not right. They have to disapprove or prove their point is better. That is an inquiry method that you have to, this makes them look at the lesson at a larger perspective. Unfortunately, children don't have this larger perspective. Now, when we are trying to give that to them, then they will never forget any lesson. Now, puppet method, why should we use puppet method? I have a beautiful video for you. Give me 1 second. Okay.
I've been a puppeteer for over 30 years, performing in films and television shows. I've toured around the world doing live performances, so I've been able to experience the power of puppetry in a lot of different areas and a lot of different ways. I've also experienced the power of puppetry as an educator. Quite often I found myself teaching people with puppets, a variety of people, a variety of subjects, and during my time as a puppet educator, I have discovered that puppetry is the most powerful educational tool in the history of the world. Doesn't matter what you're trying to teach or who you're trying to teach it to, puppetry is almost perfectly suited as an educational tool. And I think it's important to talk about this now because right these days, education is looking entirely different than it ever has before with, hybrid models and online and virtual learning. And I think all educators are looking for a way to get some interest and grab their students' attention. And I think puppetry is perfectly suited to do that. I became interested in puppetry at a very young age, born in 1967. So I got started right about the same time as Sesame Street. And like most of my peers, I grew up watching Sesame Street, big fan of that. I had all the commercially produced puppets. I had the albums. I would sit at home with my Ernie puppet and lip sync to Rubber Ducky, kind of where I learned how to be a puppeteer. But I also was educated by watching Sesame Street. I learned my letters. I learned my numbers. I learned a banana in the ear is the best way to keep alligators out of the neighborhood. It works where I come from. I was also a big fan of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I watched that for a long time, particularly the Neighborhood of Make-Believe. Big fan of that because that's where the puppets were featured. In fact, I watched Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood a little longer than I was comfortable telling my peers I was watching Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. But that was also very educational, but not so much letters and numbers, but more like how to deal with difficult feelings or emotional maturity, that kind of education. Not only did I experience the power of puppetry being educated by puppets as a young child, but I actually became an educator with puppets at the young age of 5 years old. It was the first day in the kindergarten library. And the librarian wanted to make sure, the little rugrats knew how to behave in the library and take care of the books. Don't break the spine, don't dog-ear the pages. If you have peanut butter and jelly in your fingers, don't hold the books, wash your hands first. So she used a series of sock puppets to tell us the rules of the library. And when she finished, to make sure we had understood what she had told us, she passed out those to a few of the kids. Well, I received one of those, And now at this point, remember, I'd been practicing at home for quite a while with my Ernie puppet. So when it was my turn, I got up in front of the rest of the kids, and I did about 5 minutes ad-lib material about rules of the library. And I noticed something. For the next week, all my peers could come to me and they told me the rules of the library. I was the same age as they were. I had no authority over them. But because I had taught them with a puppet, I became sort of an authority on the rules of the library. So they came to me and they would tell me about it. I also kind of like the fact they came up and said, that thing you said was so funny. So I kind of like the attention as well. Now, it turned out that what I was doing with puppetry, or what Fred Rogers was doing, or the Muppets, really wasn't anything new. Puppetry has been used for thousands of years as an educational tool. People all over the world throughout time have used puppetry to educate people some of their most important moral and cultural concepts. People who study these things, really smart people, think that before we had live actors performing shows on stage, puppets were performing stories. So they think puppetry is actually the oldest form of theater. The oldest reference we have to puppetry comes from Egyptian hieroglyphics from about 4,000 years ago. They talk about some articulated figures that would grind corn. They were put in tombs. And this was educational, talking about what sort of things you would need in your tomb to take care of your spirit after it left its physical body. The Teotihuacan culture in Mexico, they've used some articulated figures as well in their funerary rites. The Indonesians have used the Wayang Kulit shadow puppets and the Wayang Golek rod puppets for 2,000 years to perform plays based on the Hindu epic poem, the Ramayana, and some of the other Hindu poems. And then
now, one second. So teachers, you were listening, right? So how many of us followed it? So he was saying that it's the best tool to be used because it catches the attention, it retains. So what I'm saying is one lesson or one part of the lesson, one day, use one puppet. Or if you're uncomfortable in using, okay, if you are not so, okay, so very comfortable, you can ask any of your children to do it also. Okay, so generally I love doing it because mimicking, one reason why children are attracted, or for that matter, human beings are attracted to puppets. That also, if you go, I'll send this video, full video, you go through it later. Okay, why do you think people are attracted to puppets? Anybody?
Voice, different voice, and
not because of the different voice. Not because of the different voice.
Nice to see, and we can talk to them, and they will give answer what we are, means according to our imagination or fantasy, we can make answer from their mouth. We can't speak like that, but from puppet we can make like that imaginary talking and all.
Okay, that's a different perspective. Okay.
From regular teaching, they have some visual and audio, some different. So it is interactive.
Yeah, instead of a puppet, okay, can I have a video? Will the videos be as effective as a puppet?
Yes.
Okay.
Having two aspects, ma'am, in that video, it is audio visual agreed, students can understand, but using their own imagination and making their own creativity, so they are getting more means hand on hand like that learning. So that puppet show will be more effective than videos.
Okay. Now, the real reason is that everybody knows the puppet is not having life. Okay. Even the smallest child, including the oldest man who is sitting and watching, know that it's not having life. But when it moves, it is as if it's having life. Okay. And it can make any nonsense. It can talk anything. Unfortunately or fortunately, people don't want to be judged every time. Okay, so somebody is sitting and watching me, whether I'm doing the right thing or am I saying the right. Unknowingly, we are consciously thinking, am I saying the right thing? Because there are 20 people who are sitting here who are looking at me. So there might be questions like that. Okay, so unknowingly, not knowingly, I'm saying consciously we are not thinking. But unconsciously, that my thought will be running at the back of our mind. Okay, that's why whatever we have in our mind don't pop up immediately, don't come out immediately. When you are using a puppet, okay, if I am talking, I can talk without any hesitation. The most shy child will talk, point number one. Second, as an audience, I know even the most dumbest point will be accepted by me because it is only the puppet saying, not the teacher. So both sides, it is always that psychology works better. Somewhere unknowingly we have proved our authority on our children. Okay, so they keep us 2 steps above, and they like to see us at times below them. Okay, sometimes they like to have the power, and if they have the power, they remember it forever. So that is also another reason. Okay, so always why we are doing it, if you understand, we will never stop doing it. Okay, so that is another method. So please follow that. And this is, as we all know, that graphic designing or flow chart, however you want to say, the same lesson. I'm taking one lesson to use all these. Now here you can ask them to narrate 1 or 2 incidents. Okay, let it be the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, or let it be the Chauri Chaura incident. Ask them to use a puppet, okay, as an audience who is watching those incident and narrate it to the friend who was not there. Then they will never forget it. Okay, so that's a simple incident can be asked them to do it. Okay, and this, how many? I think most of us as history teachers, we use it. Flow charts. Yes. Now I do this continuously. Why? Because I sometimes I permanently put it at the back. Okay, suddenly they will say, ma'am, this after this what happened, ma'am? They'll come and ask. They tend to forget because all these are facts, so they tend to forget. So this will help them to, for example, it starts with the emergence of nationalism, like the various what to say, organizations which were formed after 1870. Okay, and then how a nation is started to form, especially Indian National Congress is formed, and how everybody has stood up for that birthright, and the radicals were formed, and during the First World War, how it became a mass movement, and how Gandhiji came in, what role did he play, and how he started the satyagrahas, and the famous satyagraha, first famous satyagraha, Rowlatt Satyagraha for the whole country. Then along with Khilafat agitation, how non-cooperation movement came in. Then how people started understanding Mahatma Swaraj or Swarajyam in their own way. Entire how they started using his name to attain what they wanted. Okay, so how the people started that initiative, and the happenings between 1922 to 29. This we discussed in this. And after that, 1930, the Salt Satyagraha started. Then how it was able to shake the Britishers. Then Second World War came, and what the perspective changed, and how they asked for our help, how we participated in the elections in 1928 and 32, how much we won, how we started influencing the government, and in 1940, how they started the 40 or 42, they started the Quit India movement, and slowly towards independence, and then partition, all that. So all this can be, the whole lesson can be put in very simply through a flow chart. If you put it, then children can go back to it anytime they want and then learn it. That's another method. Okay, then this is student-led method. Okay, it's from here, the emergence of nationalism. The emergence of nationalism, the nation in making, freedom is our birthright, how the radicals came in, the growth of mass nationalism during the First World War, then how Gandhiji came in, how the 3 satyagrahas were there, then the Rowlatt Satyagraha, then Khilafat agitation, along with how the non-cooperation movement came into existence, then how people started to look at Gandhi as a savior for them, and how the people took up their initiative and gave the credit to Gandhi, and the happenings between 1922 to 1929, then Salt Satyagraha, then Quit India movement, then towards independence. At last, we have the partition and India became independent. So the whole lesson can be written in a flowchart. okay, or a graphic organizer. How do you want to say is your choice? Okay.